question keeps coming up regarding Moff Gideon, and that's if he is potentially Force sensitive. This theory originally began after an interview with the actor Giancarlo Esposito, where he mentioned that maybe Gideon is one of the ones, hinting at some kind of Force sensitivity. And then there's the fact that we now know that Moff Gideon is highly proficient with the darksaber, seeming to hint at Gideon being more than just some Moff who stole an ancient weapon. Beyond that, he dresses in a way to evoke the late Sith Lord Darth Vader, and while that might be down to desiring to look imposing, it could also imply a connection between the two in some way. But if Moff Gideon is Force sensitive, to what degree is he Force sensitive, and why is it shrouded in mystery? Wouldn't Moff Gideon being Force sensitive mean he would have been better utilized as an Inquisitor long ago rather than ISB? And if there is evidence that he is Force sensitive, why does he specifically want Grogu's blood? Why not harvest his own blood for whatever he is up to in his science lab? Well, let's try to work through some of these questions. First, what degree of Force sensitivity are we talking about with Moff Gideon? Well, to be frank, I don't think that much. At best, it seems to allow him the advantage of knowing everything going on around him to a degree that sometimes it appears like he's clairvoyant, which is why I personally feel that Moff Gideon having some Force sensitivity isn't a mindless theory. And in every Star Wars film that Disney's put out since 2015, there have been new characters imbued with various levels of Force sensitivity, and most of them aren't really directed to Jedi or Sith. They just happen to have it. So this is not without precedence. Now, one example I would use regarding Gideon's Force sensitivity comes from the episode called The Rescue, which was Season 2's finale. Moff Gideon tells Din Djarin that he knows Din has no more whistling birds left. He's almost out of his ammunition, and that all of his troops aboard his light cruiser are all dead at this point, and that the bridge has been taken over by Bo-Katan. He tells Din to assume that he knows everything, and to be frank, he does. Well, it's easy to say he already knows who Bo-Katan is because he knows the history of the darksaber, and his ship is being taken over, so it's a logical leap to make as to what's going on inside of his cruiser. And I agree. But ultimately, knowing the circumstances of what happened on his ship while waiting in the brig with Grogu is odd. He seemingly knows just everything that's going around him at once. And I personally latched onto this as a hint towards his mild Force sensitivity. And I like that he's smirking in a lot of these scenes because it's just showing his self-assuredness of knowing how things are unfolding. Now, the reason Moff Gideon couldn't be an Inquisitor is actually simple. Dave Filoni is on record saying that by the time of A New Hope, there aren't any more Inquisitors. Until new canon begins to reevaluate that idea of there being no more new Inquisitors, I'm not sure Gideon having a history of being one makes any sense. Now, what does make sense to me is Gideon being just an opportunist. He already stole the ancient weapon which would unite an entire planet, the darksaber, and he has no problem eliminating his own forces in order to obtain whatever the hell it is that he desires. So keeping his ability a secret while traversing the hostile terrain that is being part of the Empire was probably more beneficial for attaining power than just being some errand boy for Vader and Palpatine. To me, this is almost analogous to Grand Admiral Thrawn navigating the hierarchy of the Empire, and we know that the Empire was xenophobic as well, and also heavily brainwashed everyone that served within it. It would make sense for the Empire to shun anyone and everyone with potential Force sensitivity after the destruction and elimination of the Jedi Order. And a great example of this dismissive, arrogant attitude towards anyone being Force sensitive, specifically in the Empire, comes from A New Hope, with Madi talking back to Vader himself before Vader choked him. Now, in regards to Moff Gideon not using his own blood, if he is Force sensitive for his own scientific experiments, it would make no sense for Gideon to drain his own blood. And that's for two reasons. First, he doesn't have high enough M count blood based on the theory that he is mildly Force sensitive, so nothing would work with his blood. The transfusions and experiments would completely fail. Perhaps that's why earlier experiments did fail. And number two, it's his operation. Why would he be his own guinea pig? It makes more sense that he is leading this transfusion program because Moff Gideon understands intimately what they are dealing with, and that's because of his mild connection to the Force. So this next one is major out there speculation, but while no one else would be aware of this, maybe Gideon's ultimate goal is to be the literal next Vader to a resurrected Palpatine while order is restored to the galaxy. And to be transparent, I used to scoff at the idea of Gideon's lab being linked to Palpatine, Snoke, whatever. But I think I'm wrong. I do think before Snoke was even an idea, Gideon's task, or what he tasked himself, was figuring out how to create a body strong enough to hold the Emperor's full power, to bring him back to full glory, and then he'd be right next to him just like Vader was, finally having the power you wanted. So with Gideon's apparent knowledge of everything going on around him, his skill with the darksaber, the fact that he seemingly wants to appear like another Vader while spearheading an experiment regarding Force-sensitive blood leads me to believe, at the very least, this idea of him being Force-sensitive has legitimate merit. And I think the show is also asking us to contemplate this. It has to mean something, even if the actor himself is suggesting such an idea. So what do you think of this concept? Would this diminish Gideon as a villain, or make him more interesting? Is he just very, very smart, therefore he can actually figure out and anticipate everybody's actions? Or is he tapping into something else? After all, this Moff of mystery somehow escaped or faked his execution, so there is bound to be more information soon on his full backstory, especially from the Great Purge till now, and I'm here for it. I need to know everything that I can about Moff Gideon. So that does it for today. I hope this video has been fun, engaging, and I can't wait to see what you all say down in the comments. As always, may the Force be with you. AT-AT is signing off.